President Biden and Donald Trump will travel to the border separately on Thursday. This comes as more cities in the U.S. are struggling to accommodate a growing number of migrants. On Friday, hundreds were dropped off at a bus stop in San Diego instead of being taken to a reception area because it ran out of local aid sooner than expected. In the last 4 months, there has been a 182% increase of migrant encounters in Tucson, Arizona, in comparison to just last year. In San Diego, there was a 73% increase. NBC's Elwin Lopez joins us now. Elwin, good morning. How did this happen?
Well, look, Jose, it mostly comes down to a few things, and lack of money is a big one here, especially as it pertains to that situation you were mentioning in San Diego. Those hundreds of migrants would typically arrive at a staging area. That's where they could use the bathroom, figure out their next steps, charge their phones. But that staging area was run by a nonprofit that ran out of money sooner than what they expected to. And without a spot to go, you saw this, hundreds of migrants from all over, as far as China and as close as Mexico, arriving in droves at bus stops. Other nonprofits jumped in to help, offering transportation and water to folks. Some of them unsure of where they were, a bit disoriented, as you can imagine, but relieved to be in the U.S. because some of them say they are fleeing political chaos and crime. Take a listen.
Mi país, Ecuador, se encuentra al momento en un conflicto armado interno. Pandillas se quieren apoderar del país. Está complicada la situación. Guerra entre el ejército y contra las bandas delictivas. La razón principal que nos obligó a migrar de nuestro país. La esperanza dentro de mí, de mi persona, existe una esperanza, porque en mi patria no hay forma de llevar una vida estable. Tenemos esperanza de llevar algo estable aquí.
And that's what a lot of these migrants are hoping for, a new beginning, un nuevo comienzo. And one of that is uncertain, not just for them, but for the country. We know that there was a bipartisan Senate bill on the table that was shot down by Republicans earlier this month. We're not willing to free up funds without sweeping changes to immigration policies. And now we know that President Biden is exploring several options, including executive action. The bottom line, though, Jose, is that the pressure is high and we still don't have a solution on the table. So images like the one we saw over the weekend are likely to continue. Jose?
Elwin Lopez, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. President Biden's handling of the humanitarian crisis at the southern border has sparked some tension with some of his fellow Democrats. Punchbowl News reports a Congressional Hispanic Caucus is upset at the White House for excluding its members from border security talks on Capitol Hill. Now, as the Biden administration prepares to take executive action to deal with the crisis, that tension is growing. Caucus members are calling on the White House not to give in to hardline GOP demands on border security and immigration. Democratic Texas Congressman Greg Casar told Punchbowl, quote, "I don't think the Biden administration was going to get any credit for going Republican light on immigration. We're never going to be the halfway on the issue of immigration." Congressman Casar joins us this morning. Congressman, it's great to see you. I very much appreciate your time. NBC News has confirmed that President Biden is going to be traveling to Brownsville on Thursday to meet with Border Patrol agents, law enforcement, and others. He will also discuss the need to pass the bipartisan Senate border security agreement, which is pretty much dead at the House. What do you make of this decision to visit the border, and what do you want to see from him?
Jose, thanks so much for having me on. And I think it's really good for President Biden to be in Texas and be on the border, because we have to tackle the issue of immigration head on. And as you just reported a little bit earlier, the case of San Diego and so many other places is exactly an example of how Republicans are the arsonists here, trying to make the immigration system as unruly and disorderly as they can so they can campaign on it. And then they want to try to blame Democrats, the firefighters, for the flames that those very Republican arsonists have set. And so I think it's important for the president to tackle this head on, but we should have a message about how immigration can be good for this country and is good for our economy and good for our culture, not that immigration is bad. And that's where I hope that more voices from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus can be heard, because we can handle immigration in a way that is safe, legal, orderly, and humane and beneficial for the country, not something we should be scared of.
What did you mean when you told Punchbowl News that we're never going to be halfway on the issue of immigration?
What I meant, and I don't know if the quote was exactly spot on from that news outlet, but at the end of the day, what I mean is that if the choices for voters is a anti-immigrant policy from the Republican Party and a somewhat anti-immigrant policy from Democrats, then people will just choose the real thing, the real anti-immigrant policy. And that is not good for the country. It doesn't actually solve the issue of immigration. Democrats should own immigration as a good thing, but something that we need to manage and something where we need to be able to integrate people in a legal and orderly fashion. And Republican policies that they're trying to push right now is to end legal pathways to migration. They want folks to have to come here undocumented. They want things to be disorderly, and we should call them out on that and actually own the issue of immigration as a positive thing rather than going Republican light on the issue.
And, Congressman, I've spoken to, Democratic senators, I'm thinking of Senator of California to members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And so many of them feel as though they have a voice and a certain perspective and knowledge that really is not being utilized, right, by anyone. I mean, they're just not being called to the table on this. Just wondering, Congressman, so what is the way to handle the humanitarian crisis at the border? And I want you to speak to all of us about what are the things that you think are positive and could result in something positive happening from this. What do we need to do?
Jose, that's exactly the question that we should be talking about. My district that stretches from Travis County down to San Antonio is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from the border, and we benefit from integrating migrants and having a culturally diverse and economically diverse state. We have to be owning that issue. But there are real challenges. So as you pointed out, we've seen a surge in migration, and we want people to not be displaced from their home countries. We don't want people to have to leave. And so we need to better support people in Latin America. We dedicate so little of our time and resources and political energy to supporting economies in Latin America. We have to do that. We need to take a look at some of the sanctions we put in place on Latin American countries, because oftentimes we are starving people in Latin America rather than actually hitting some of the failed political leaders in those places. But sometimes we're just helping displace people by our own policy. And then finally, we need to give legal status and work permits to people who are coming here and people who have been here for decades, because the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office just said this most recent surge in migration is going to add $7 trillion to our economy here in the coming years. So we should give folks work permits, legal status, the ability for people to come here legally and not have to pay the cartels. The current policy, the Republican policy of closing legal pathways to migration, is disorderly, and it helps the cartels.
No, they're in many ways establishing immigration policy, because they're the ones that decide, the cartels, where people can go through, how much they charge people, when they charge people. I mean, it's so much of it is in their hands, which is so terrifying. Congressman Greg Quesada, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. And let's continue our conversation going forward.
We absolutely should. Thank you, Jose.